we played girls and halter tops and stuff, this AstroTurf and all this snow and stuff, I didn't understand that. But he convinced me that it'd be well worth my while. I came out, worked out, and got here on a Thursday and played about half or three-quarters on that Sunday against the Giants. What blew me away here was this fan base is collegiate. Well, it was collegiate.
Sure.
And it was so embracing in the community. I never watching D.C., I felt like I'd die and go to heaven.
Live from the streets of Washington, D.C., on the corner where sports and culture meets hip-hop. Sharing stories of the DMV and spitting fire for the whole damn country. This is First and Told with Chad Ricardo and Darrell Bucknight.
This is First and Told. I'm Chad Ricardo. That is Darrell Bucknight. We got one heck of a show for the people here today, Darrell.
We got a good one in the building today, Chad. We got Rick Doc Walker. He is a former NFL tight end who spent 9 seasons in the National Football League and is most known for being a key member to the Washington Redskins during the team's Super Bowl 27 victory over the Miami Dolphins in the 1982 season. He currently hosts the Doc Walker podcast and ventured into broadcasting after his playing days were over and after he retired from the NFL. Representing my Washington football team on the First and Told podcast, we are happy to have Mr. Rick Doc Walker joining us here on the show today. You know, I do want to go ahead and get into the nucleus of this, you know, because you've done so much with broadcasting, you've done so much with your community, you've done so much in the NFL, including winning that Super Bowl with the Redskins over the Dolphins back in 1982. Can you just go through your experience a little bit with being in the NFL, being drafted at first and then being traded or going to Washington a few years later and winning that Super Bowl? What was that whole experience like for you during your career?
Well, I wasn't traded. I mean, I left Cincinnati under really angry situation. I was injured, and they were requesting me to play, and I was not able to perform, so I had an injury that I just left.
Wow.
See, the one thing I had going for me and going against me at the same time was I was never going to be defined by sport. I didn't have to play. I was not afraid to go get a job and work. So I thought, I never envisioned having to play to survive. You know, to me, it was about being able to get a good job, good paying job, be in the industry that I liked. I knew that if I was able to do something that I was passionate about, I wouldn't be stopped. I didn't want to work just for money. I've never really done that other than football. I mean, I was working for the things that I do now that I like to create. I like to be a part of it, whether they fail or succeed. I want to be on the board of decision-making.
Yeah.
I want to have some control over my destiny. I don't want to be pimped my whole life.
Right.
So as a result of that, we had a disagreement. I told them it ain't a problem. You can have your stuff. I went out, went to the West Coast where I wanted to be anyway, and went to Chargers, Niners, and went and get evaluated and worked out. And Bobby Beckett called me. He had an injury, and I knew Bobby from the scouting process. And I said I wasn't really favorable for the East Coast because I grew up on the West Side.
Yeah, man.
We have grass.
Yeah, man.
When we played girls and halter tops and stuff, this AstroTurf and all this snow and stuff, I didn't understand that. But he convinced me that it'd be well worth my while. I came out, worked out, and got here on a Thursday and played about half or three-quarters on that Sunday against the Giants. What blew me away here was this fan base is collegiate. Well, it was collegiate.
Sure.
And it was so embracing in the community. I never watching D.C., I felt like I'd die and go to heaven.
Wow.
Because there's no HBCUs, western Mississippi. So the experience about looking at people that look like me, that were in these positions I hadn't seen, that was encouraging. There's a big difference between East and West, the North and the South.
Yeah.
And so I just thought the people here, man, were so genuine. Team was okay. And then to be a part of the process of the turnaround, I was here with Jack Pardee and Joe Gibbs. My first 5 years in the NFL, I had 5 different head coaches.
Wow.
So I was in
You had it all.
because I got a bird's eye. That's why I make a living now talking about management, the management team, sales teams, because I've seen it done lousy.
Sure.
I know what doesn't work, and I also know what works. So I was blessed to have, and it didn't seem like a blessing at the time, but to be able to experience the variance in ideas, ideology, racism, privilege, the whole thing that the NFL is still plagued by. I got a chance to see it up front. I had KKK written on a trash can and stuff in Cincinnati, Ohio. People spitting on you, throwing bombs. I've seen this, the ugly side of this country. And the country still shows its ugly side. But now, being a little bit more mature and adjusted to it, I found out how to make me go, how to make me operate. I eat what I kill. I'm a hunter. And I got to go out and create and go. I don't expect anybody to give me anything. I'm not looking for any hands out. I'm just looking for an opportunity to create and to dominate and to go out and do what I need to do. And if I get a chance to do that, you don't have to worry about me. Worry about the other guy.
Doc, listen, Darrell's going to get right back to you here. I just want to touch on something that you just spoke there. You spoke to America and the growth of this country. We, of course, just wrapped up the Derek Chauvin trial. How did you feel when you heard that he was guilty on all counts?
I'm numb to all of it. I'm going to be numb. Don't forget, Brother Teal was hung and burned the year I was born. And then I go back and see Brother King, who was damn near beaten to death 30 years after that. So I'm in my mid-60s, and I've seen very little change in that. I'm the wrong guy to bring up about that because I don't fall for the okie doke. This country is in a desperate need of looking at most of our principles and deciding that what was established long, long time ago does not apply now. Our country has a different look than it did in 1700s. For us to be led by something that was designed while we weren't even considered to be human, to me is appalling. It's asinine. For us to look at the police department and that 90% of them that are doing this for the right reason, but it's the 10% of the jackasses that are ruining it for everyone else. And since those that know what's right but won't report it, they're just as bad as the other ones. So when the Klan decided to infiltrate Big Blue, which was brilliant, when we had no informers, where's the FBI? Where's the CIA? We're such badasses all over the world, but we've done a rotten job right here at home, in my opinion. And it's got to be fixed. It's got to be realigned. And until it's done, we're just going to go through what we're going through now. You won for 100, and you want a party, you want a celebration.
Man.
All the lives that have been ruined by murder. It's an absolute joke, and I'm not going to fall for it again. What I'm going to do is hope that this current administration, and every way down from the local level all the way up, all I want us to do is have the same spirit that we have every 4 years when we compete against the world in the Olympics. And when we chant USA, USA, and I get goosebumps doing that, because that's the only time we're really all together, when we're going to get someone else that's threatening us. And the moment we get the medal, then we go back to wanting everybody to get in their place. And that's the problem.
First and Told podcast, GOAT Talk for real. Rick Doc Walker on with us. You take it back over.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to follow that up, but you just kind of you pointed something out that's really interesting, Doc, and that's the elements of process and of change. When you started, or a few years into your career, when you went to Washington, you were a Washington Redskin. Now, if you were a member of the team, but as you cover the team, you cover the Washington football team. Obviously, what I'm getting into is the name and thoughts and ideas about the name. The team last week released some fan ideas about what the new name could potentially be: Monarchs, Presidents, Monuments, Wild Hogs. There's so many different names. You went on air and said that it should be simple. It should just be Warriors. Just throw an arrow on the back of the helmet. Kind of a quick two-part question. What do you think the new name should be? Should they just stick with Washington Football Team? Or should they, go in and venture into a new name? And number two, what changes have you seen in terms of language and the idea of Redskins from when you first started playing for the team to now in 2021 covering the team?
Well, I go back to the 70s when I fell in love with the burgundy and gold because of Brig Owens. And Brig's from my area, Southern Cal. So I understand the Wild Bunch. It started with the Over the Hill game, then the Wild Bunch. And, to the Hogs, to the Fun Bunch, the Pearl Harbor Crew, Capital Punishment, all the things that have happened into that, the song itself, the band. And I refuse to let any of that go. I met a gentleman who was a senator in Utah 15 years ago, or maybe a little longer, and I asked him, what does the phrase mean in the Native American community? And he said it's derogatory, it's a racial slur. So I was on the air at the time, and I just said, okay, cool. I stopped using it. Now, I still the gear I had, but I stopped using the name. And it didn't affect my broadcast at all, because I always called them the burgundy and gold. Hadn't heard Alabama not to have a name. Alabama's the Crimson Tide. I didn't even know who the mascot was. Some fat elephant laid out. Crimson Tide. We're Washington, burgundy and gold. And the mascot should be a hog. And the song remains, Hell to the Burgundy, Hell Victory. Brave hogs on the warpath, fight for old DC. This is political. Okay, I'm not willing to turn our distinguished members of 60 plus, 70, 80 years old and do to them what the Washington basketball team did to the proud Washington Bullet World Champion fan base and turn them into wizards. To me, that's disgraceful. Now, they clean it up. They go back to the colors and they go to district. Love their gear. And I think that Monumental Sports is doing a hell of a job in rebuilding that program. But I don't want to be called something that I'm embarrassed by. And so I'm good with burgundy and gold. I'm good with the Washington football team. As long as they win the East, keep winning, I can live.
That's all that matters.
Yeah, what I don't want to do is go back to being in last place. Doesn't matter how much I love the name. I don't like losing year after year after year.
No matter what the name is.
And Doc, that's a perfect segue to my question for you here, brother. Because out of the three people that are on this line right now, I may be the least fan of the Washington football team. So your franchise, right? Your franchise, you all won the Super Bowl when you were there. You won a couple of more Super Bowls. I remember as a child watching Mark Rippon, Ernest Biner, et cetera. You all were a proud franchise. Let's be real, bro. Over the span of the last 15 to 20 years, the franchise has been a bit moribund. It has been a perennial cellar dweller, and nothing makes me happier than to see Washington, by whatever name, lose on a Sunday. But there is hope in the nation's capital. You all have a culture change going on right now. Ron Rivera is bringing things up. You've got Jason Wright out there in the front office. Julie Donaldson. You've got this stud from right here in the DMV, Chase Young, which I'm sure that both of us watched for years before he ever put on that burgundy and gold. So for you, again, a true fan of this team, how confident are you that you all have turned the corner?
Well, you don't turn the corner until you kiss the Lombardi Trophy, in my way of thinking. But even a blind man can see that they're moving in the right direction. And all I'm asking is that you approach it as if it's life or death. And I think that's where they're at now. You mentioned Chase, alumni, grassroots, youth football league. That's where it starts.
Yeah, man.
That everything starts, to me, having coached 7 years in the metropolitan area of the DMV. I invest in the young people and those around it, because a lot of this area only is concerned about the protein. It's the worst thing you can do. We should be packed every Saturday at Maryland. We should be packed. I've done Howard University games. I've done ACC for 14 years. This area is rich in hoops, and it's also rich in the pigskin. So I'm pulling for Mike Locksley. I'm looking at Coach Mendenhall up at UVA. Got it going. Tech, is turning that corner. I think we have to really be appreciative of what's going on around us. I root for the game, because the game, it changes lives. It educates young men. It puts you on a platform that you can make decisions what you want to do as an adult. So I'm a proponent of the game. At the pro level, if you're not going to hire the right people, you're never going to win. That's a fact. It looks like now that Ron, Jack, the guys they brought together now, Martin Mayhew, my dog, GM, I just believe that's a group of people that I trust. Now, their assistant coach, their staff, proved to me they can coach.
Mm-hmm.
They got people
Right.
better.
Yeah.
We had injuries. You shouldn't fall apart when you have a few injuries. That means you picked the wrong people, and you're not getting people better. Coach Mike Locksley has said this forever, and I agree with him. The University of Maryland said they were getting, when Ralph Friedgen, when Locks and them were there, they were playing toe-to-toe with Florida State and getting it going on and going to bowl games. You got to be able to take a 3-star and turn them into a 5.
Mm-hmm.
These coaches are lazy. They don't want to coach. You want to get a 5-star? No, you actually got to work and develop people. And the good staff win. And I think we have a good staff. And now, if this draft in a week or so will help you align yourself by getting good people. I don't care what round they're drafted in. The draft is the biggest bunch of crap I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
There are more ones that are failures than 5th-round draft picks. In my mind, Chase Roulier, our center, is a 6th-round pick, and a starter who they just re-signed. If you got the right coaches, just get a guy that's hungry. You got a little pepper in his grits, I can go win with it. I don't need the Heisman Trophy winner or the Heisman Trophy winner in order to build a team. That's when you don't have people that know how to teach people how to get people better. And then when you draft people, if they have a deficiency, which they ought to, they're babies, hire a babysitter to help them grow up. Don't give a kid $20 million and then he's too ignorant to pay somebody $100,000 a year to drive him to practice.
Mm-hmm.
That's on you. So there are a number of things I think they've made some gross mistakes, but I also think they're recovering because they're getting people into place, and you win with people. You win with people. Alex Smith is a great example of what happens. He was out there almost a leg and a half and was better than anybody they have on their roster.
100%. And look, I think that, number one, shout out to Coach Locksley. Outstanding man. Just like you, we are certainly rooting for him for myriad reasons. We are rooting for Coach Mike Locksley. And the other point that you make there, Doc, is the idea of building a fence around the area, right? Well, in this upcoming draft, you got another dynamic young man who is homegrown, who's not going to be a first-round pick. That's a young man by the name of Jarrett Patterson. He, too, is from PG County, played over there at Pilati, made it out of the whole area, played at Buffalo and set the world on fire, but he will get drafted. I hope that the Washington football team looks at bringing him back home, but that brings us to this. In the first round, of course, there's a lot of Washington football team fans that are salivating for a quarterback. There's some other ones who say, give us an offensive lineman. What does Doc Walker say? Because D and I, we were looking at the linebacker, Jeremiah. Joke. Who does Doc Walker like for the Washington football team first round?
I'm going to be very honest, as I always am with people. They don't pay me to scout. So I don't scout. Okay? I'm an analyst. If they pick them, I evaluate what they do with them. Because I know what can happen. One draft move up kills your board. Mm-hmm. Hopefully they've got competent people, and I know they do. They will assess people. You don't know who you're going to draft until a guy in front of you makes
Sure.
your selection. Anybody that tells you anything other, they're just ignorant. They have no idea what they're talking about. One trade up that could happen, like in my draft year, Tony Dorsett, trade up Dallas to Seattle, it changed the entire draft. So if all these people are moving around and you got these 4 or 5 viable quarterbacks, all I think is that we're going to get a guy that we shouldn't have been able to get if these people bite on all these quarterbacks. And I guarantee you only 1 or 2 of them is going to be worth their weight. But that's what happens every year. So we may end up getting me. I'm always draft one way, big. I think my whole world with the National Football League is O-line, D-line. And so the D-line, I'm very pleased with. I like the O-line, but we can get better. To me, pro football is very simple. You have to protect your quarterback, and you have to kill the opponent's quarterback. And you got to stop guys who's special at wide receiver. So if you're not special, rushing with edge, we got 2 or 3 of them. Protecting, I think we're gonna be pretty good. I'd like to get another one. And then corner. Do we have somebody that can take one of the badasses on the other team? That's it. Everything else we got to work with. Personally, I think we need a linebacker. I think we need an offensive tackle, linebacker, a corner, and that's who I am. I go big. And everything else, I fill it in.
So you don't need to push for a quarterback this year, is what you're saying?
Well, I don't know who will be available, and that's their job to evaluate. I would like to draft one. I would probably draft one almost every year until my guy was a Pro Bowler. And last I checked, they don't have any Pro Bowlers. I'm trying to upgrade my position. I like Fitz Magic. I've seen what he's done. How you do it here, it don't mean squat to me. I don't like anybody to play with here.
Right. No, I mean that's the mentality you have to have, right? I mean, I you talked about not drafting a quarterback. I saw something about Kellen Mond earlier. I'm forgetting what school he goes to, but or what school he went to, but he's projected in kind of like that 3rd to 4th round, and his name fell to the Washington football team. So who knows? We touched on the football aspect. We touched on the athletics. We touched on your career in broadcasting and what you've done since retirement, even before retirement when you were still playing. Your efforts off the field and away from sports are often things with all players that are overlooked, but you've done so much with your charitable donations, your foundations, giving to the Providence Health Foundation, the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, and so many other organizations where people are in need. Why is that such an important thing for you to do? And I noticed John Thompson on your shirt, and I just finished reading his book not long ago, I Came as a Shadow, and he talked about players, teaching his players more about life than the game of basketball itself, or in your case, football. So why is the stuff that you do off the field so much more important than what you did on it?
Well, I was raised that way. My mother was a nurse, and I saw she worked with kids that had been denied functional bodies. And when you grow up understanding what happens when it's not a perfect birth.
Wow.
You grow and understand that this is not automatic. Cystic fibrosis, me and Big John Stud, Will Jarrett, I'll never forget it. It's the last time I couldn't do it because I was at a funeral and the box was that big. And I'm not built to handle with youth tragedy. It just wrecked me. And I went, but I enjoyed the organ and foundation. But that I knew that it wrecked me. So I went from cystic fibrosis to Alzheimer's. A gentleman asked me, would I help him? I did 11 years at the Alzheimer's Association. I was at attendance of a dinner that First Lady Nancy Reagan put on because Alzheimer's affected the elderly. And I'm more conditioned to deal with that and the fate that happens when you have lived a long life.
Later in life, right.
The tragedies of a 6-year-old in a coffin. And muscular dystrophy, that was it, muscular dystrophy, then cystic fibrosis, and the National Kidney Foundation, which I'm currently involved with now. Great people. Now I've done leukemia, lymphoma with the Burgundy and Gold as they've done, but the National Kidney Foundation has been special. And for me, in the efforts and understanding what happens when people have to lose a kidney. Sean Springs' father, who I recruited at high school to UCLA, he went to Ohio State, but he needed a kidney, and Emerson Walls donated it to him. Once you understand what happens when people are ill, and Steve Buckhead gave one of the best golf tournaments. It was at Children's Hospital, and you just start understanding that not everybody's healthy.
Right.
And if you notice that everybody's not healthy, you need help. It's just, to me, what you do. And I have enjoyed being able to do that, and in whatever capacity that would help them raise money, whether it's emceeing events or donating product, whatever. We got to give. We all have to give. And I use this with my audience when I'm doing team building seminars. I go, look, really the only thing we kind of buy into, and we don't do that 100%, is red light, yellow light, and green. Traffic systems, stop signs, yield signs. America will get itself together when it starts paying attention to the fact that we got to do this thing by rules. I don't care how much money you make. You can't run red lights.
Right.
You got to stop at stop signs. I don't care how important you are. These are things we got to go by with rules. We don't play by the rules well. When I see homeless people, my father was military. I was born at Camp Lejeune, lived on base for 9 years. When I see people I know that serve that are homeless, we're better than that. We're supposed to be better than that. When I see the opioid crisis that took place, Big Pharma, the whole idea of lobbyists, why do people have to go and stuff people's pockets to get initiatives if they're fair and if they're right? We're surrounded by corruption and dishonest people in positions of leadership, weak people in positions of leadership. And until we change that and make people earn the right, we have more emphasis in this country on who the hell is a quarterback than we do people that are running our country and running things. And until we stop faking and take it seriously, like it appears we're trying to do now with COVID-19, at times we're laughable. And that's just straight up. And if people, don't deal with it the proper way or disagree, you have the right to do that. That's the beauty of America. But I was going to say a pledge of allegiance that did not involve me or include me. Okay? So I trust you at one point in time. I had no other choice. Now that I can read, write, and walk while I'm chewing bubble gum, I don't believe everything you say. You have to prove it to me. And I want to see your actions speak louder than your words.
First and Fold podcast. Doc Walker is our special guest in the building. Doc, one of the things that Darrell and I are actually doing is we are beginning a media training program for student athletes as well, because I truly believe I played the game, not a third, let's be honest, not a tenth as well as you or many other individuals did. I did let it, Doc. I let it.
That's all you got to do.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's the only prerequisite.
That
makes you a letterman.
See, D, so stop giving me a hard time, Darrell. So,
all right, I'm sorry.
Doc, one of the things that I would love to start seeing more so with student athletes, though, is seeing this side of things, right? Because at some point you hang up the cleats. All of us do. So is beginning to study this side so that they can set themselves up for their life after the game while still being a part of the game. At what point did you know that you wanted to get into media when you were done playing? And then secondarily, we'll get you out of here on this, is talk to me about what you've got going on now, because I believe that you have a new podcast on the way.
Yeah, podcast started this week, actually. And, but I started really before college. And at UCLA, I was able, because of Fast Eddie Alexander, he allowed me to shadow him. I got to go to KNBC. I knew that I wanted to do what I really enjoyed doing. At UCLA, we were able to go and read for parts. I was in Screen Actors Guild. We were able to do some things because I thought I would always be in Southern California.
Right.
I never wanted to leave Southern Cal. And I knew then that if I was either going to go and take a look at the film industry, and or when I saw Irv Cross, God rest his soul, then I knew it was possible. You see, you got to understand, you guys have a distinct advantage because of your age. I didn't see anybody on here that looked like me.
That's real.
So
That's
Irv
real.
Cross meant a lot to me. Fred the Hammer Williamson, Johnny Sample. These are my heroes. Johnny Sample, Confession of a Dirty Ball Player, corner for the Jets, because he's the only brother I saw talking trash. They weaned it down and made it so difficult for even us to even make teams and be able to play in the league. So when I get a guy like, I always love the guys that have personality, that has swag.
Right.
And so Fred the Hammer Williamson and Johnny Sample, I look at guys like that, and then the Green Bay Packers, I read a book, Willie Davis, and Willie Davis said that you should never leave a city if you win a world championship. Now, he was with the beer company with, I think, Miller. So Willie was a businessman. I was attracted to anybody that had a career. Because you're athletic and you can play ball, I knew it's temporary. I didn't see anybody 50, 40, or 50 playing. And you weren't making money back then. So you got to understand, one of the advantages that we have is poverty. These guys now, I'd have probably been the biggest fool in the world.
Right.
Somebody had given me $1 million. My brain wasn't fully developed.
Yeah.
But we didn't have that much, nothing. So when I met Larry Brown here, Brig Owens, Brig was a lawyer. These guys worked in the off-season. Mark Mosley had a boot shop. I was in the restaurant business. That's what I needed to see. I got in with the work. I worked in the off-season. I'd leave practice and go to work.
Wow.
I started at WRC in 1983. I retired in 85.
Wow.
So I thought, it's called apprenticeship, where a lot of these guys want to be given a job because of their play. I was smart enough to know, because most of them were lousy on the air. And what I hate to do, you may not like what I say, but I'm going to say it as close as in a professional manner as possible.
Sure.
Because I can learn new things. I can evolve. I got a skill set. I understand what is necessary. I also understand how polluted the industry is. Because it's buddy, boy, who you know, who's daddy's mama, sister, uncle. But there's one thing they cannot discriminate against, and that's talent.
Yeah. Ooh.
So if you ball out, you'll get a place. You'll get a go. It may not be where you want it to be, but you just got to be you. Because you're going to see the people they put around you and put in front of you. It don't matter. They can't stick and stay because they don't have enough juice. And so you just have to make up your mind what you want to do. 1989, when I walked over to WMAL and asked if I could shadow Ken Beatrice, and Jim Gallant allowed me that opportunity. And then when I got in, J.J. Green, who's now at WTOP and got a great podcast out, Colors, we started sitting around there for 8 to 10 hours a day after the shift, understanding what we had access to and developing. That concept of Colors was developed in 1990.
Wow.
And they just broke it out. So, like you, and the work you put in with youth sports,
Yes, sir.
that's how I work. I sleep standing up. Because I understand that in order for me to get in and get over it, I've got to be better than everyone else.
That's amazing.
You
That's
know,
real.
I have to do
Yeah.
because I know how this world and how our country awards people is through leverage relationships, not skill.
Not skill.
And so you got to be able to combat that. My mom always told me. I asked her, "Is this country racist?" She said, "No." My mother's a very religious woman. She said, "No, son, it is what it is. But it's never going to be equal for you. You always have to outwork your competition, and you have to combat that." And ever since I said, "No problem, no problem. You know, let's just if you give me a chance, now you don't always get a chance. They can keep you out. They can box you out. They cannot retain you. You know, they can do everything they want to do, but what they can't do is prove that you can't do what you say you're going to do."
It's all right.
And so, to me, I've said all I need is electricity. If you give me some electricity, I'll handle the rest.
twice as hard to get half as far, brother. I'm with you on that. I'm with you 100%. Yeah, man.
You have one more left. We got one more question. How should people remember Doc Walker, and how can people connect with you?
Well, remembering me, that's when you say goodbye to the world. That's when to remember.
I didn't know where he was going with that question either, man.
No. But what I'm saying to you is that, no, it's good to be remembered because you're writing your script. Life is about writing your own script. But remember, first I got to do something. And so I'm in the process of doing something to be remembered by. Now, your longevity, consistency, and how you were as an American, as a human being, as a brother, as a friend, as a father, and as a husband, all those things have high value. See, I'm powered by faith. And then, I'm designed by the Creator. I am engineered to succeed. I am incapable of quitting. When you put these formulas together, you become almost invincible in your mind. I'm trying to set the bar high. I'm trying to set a standard of people so that they don't ever consider complacency. We're incredible creatures, built to do things that we don't even touch what we're capable of. We just scratch the surface. What I'm trying to do is develop that and raise the bar with others and help empower people like I've been empowered. I worked 12 years next to John Thompson, Jr., one of the best 12 years of my life, sitting at the foot of the mentor and his teachings. Guys, there's so many great people that have influenced me. A lot of them have been coaches. My Little League coach, Jim Womack, and Herman McCulley, my Pony League coach. The only time I've been undefeated, 25-0 with the Yankees, 13 years old. It had an impact on me. Dick Hill winning at every level. And I know that we won because the people were better that were coaching. The Dick Hills, and Coach Rush, Coach Andrade, difference makers in high school, Frank Gans in UCLA, look at Terry Donahue, Dick Vermeil. These guys are legends in their own respect, but they found a way to get better than Joe Jackson Gibbs. I mean, so when you've been around those type of people, I would be embarrassing to them if I didn't help others and elevate them and teach them how to win.
Wow.
And how to be successful on and off the field, and how to be someone that somebody is worthy of remembering.
Wow.
I love it.
Wow, Doc, that gets you off of the 2-minute clock, and you, sir, have uplifted. If you didn't make anybody else better today, you made us better today, and we absolutely appreciate you rolling with us here on First and Told.
Well, brother, I'm honored to be on your show. I'll let you in on a warning. I'm highly contagious. So be careful. I'm not going to take a shower after this.
My man, the legend, the GOAT himself, Rick Doc Walker. This is First and Told.
First and Told.